Hi guys. Happy full moon in Capricorn, or should I say I am in the US on the East Coast. So the full moon in Capricorn will be peak later this evening. This is a later nighttime moon. I think around here it's going to be closer to like 9 p.m. So come on in. We have the chart printed out, as we can see, our moon in Capricorn here at the 14-degree mark. We can see in this energy body of this full moon portal, we're holding this axis of Cancer and Capricorn. We can also see that we've got Mercury preparing for retrograde, already going into retrograde, also in Cancer. So yeah, that's the energy portal. It literally just came up. Honey, it came up an afternoon storm, as we would say here in the South. It's done plumb come up a storm on us. And then, we proceed to get our mason jars of tea and we say, I needed this on our patio. Thank you so much for being here to chat about the full moon and astrology and channeled messages from spirit and our ancestors and our team and higher self. Chill out, pull up a chair, come on into the table, hydrate. You got some coffee, you got some tea, come hang out. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found your way here through your algorithmic magic and your ancestors and your team led you here today. And if you're a returning soul family member, I appreciate you so much and I value our connection. So you guys are always welcome to check out my website and the different social medias. My website is the best landing page to learn more about me and what I do and the readings that I offer and the tools that I create. But with that being said, let me tell you something about Palo Santo. He has not been wanting to catch up today. But you know what, too? I think my magic wand here, she dying. She is losing her. Uh-oh. I'll take a minute and hydrate. There she go. Get in here and get your Palo Santo smudge. Happy full moon to you. For some, because it's a later in the nighttime, 9 p.m.-ish full moon, they may be experiencing this full moon tomorrow, or technically it's like a Monday, Tuesday full moon, So yeah, come on in here. Let's get grounded. Right, let's remind ourselves it's been quite a time. Gemini season transitioned us into Cancer season. And honey, it was a time, Gemini season. So I hope that in Cancer season, you've kind of been recovering and reclaiming your nervous system. I hope you've been able to nurture yourself. Is that the bottom dropping out? Sorry. That may be my air filter. I don't know what that is. Sorry, guys, in that background sound. That may be that air filter. I hope that's not too loud, though. It's loud to me, but it may not be loud to you. So let's get in here. Let's hold space and see. We've got our full moon here in Capricorn. Right? This is where we're at. And you see, whenever the moon is full, we are drawn down to what the sun is doing. Although we're discussing this pocket, this lunar chart, this energy of the full moon in Capricorn, and what spirit and our ancestors, our higher self in the universe, might have a message for us here today and want us to learn, or maybe journal with, or sit with, right, in this window leading up through this evening and tomorrow when the energy will be at its peak. When you're working with a full moon in Capricorn in a Cancer season, it's this vibration of you're nurturing yourself, you're grounding. I hope you've been able to fight for and carve out for and really prioritize time for yourself. But we've got this full moon in Capricorn that will also come in and kind of say, look, there's some commitments we need to evaluate. Some things will just working and some things they ain't working. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of this mothering, fathering dynamic when we speak of like energy. And then, of course, ever in the backdrop, we've been talking about the Uranus and Gemini influence, which kind of leans, it kind of, how do we want to say, it kind of gives, it's giving, right, to this energy, because you kind of can think of mothering and fathering, you know, learning how to be stern with yourself and evaluate your commitments and say, what is it I really want to build? Or perhaps what have I built that's not working? It's just not. It's only so much of you to go around, friend. You know, and then we have to have joy. We've got to cultivate space of just a beingness. And there can be anxiety, right, with this. It's an axis of maturity, because emotional maturity, maturing in your self-worth, maturing in how you, this is very Cancerian, right? You see the sun down here in Cancer. Maturing, this is catching my eye. Do you see a 4-4 and an 8? To me, that's like 2 8s. That's very interesting. It gives foundational energy, you know what I mean? We have to build on a foundation that is as emotionally mature as it is discipline, mastery, you know, authoritatively mature. Both of those need to be balanced. That's why I was seeing left brain, right brain, nervous system. It's kind of this thing where, like, a full moon in Capricorn would kind of be, you know, leaning towards that Saturnian vibe of saying, well, we're mature, and as a mature human being, or the divine soul having a human experience, you know, this is what a mature spirit would do. And I'm not mocking. I'm kind of being facetious, but I'm saying we can build a lot of structures. We can keep trying to relay foundations, you know, and this is very private as well. This is very familial. This is very legacy, longevity type of energy too. But it's like, what? Okay, if I'm being mature with myself, emotionally and, you know, realistically, Saturnianly, where am I at with long-term sustainability, and where am I at with commitments that I've made? What is it that I'm building, and why? Because I can keep rebuilding this and stripping down the house and laying down a new foundation. I can get real Capricornian. I can be a master architect and master builder. But you know what they say about a rich man built his house upon the sand. You know what I mean? What is it? The rains came through and washed the dust away. Okay, guys, I grew up in Bible school. I know, it's crazy, right? That's okay. We find our way back round to where we need to be. But I'm saying, if you know that song, you know. If you know, you know. We're from, ideally, it's from a place of reparenting oneself. Spirit is saying that we learn to reevaluate what we're committing to. And that it's like, why would I keep stepping into things that bring more responsibility on my plate, that wreck my nervous system, that steal my sovereignty, that put me in toxic dynamics? You know? There's definitely, you can't help but think of a full moon in Capricorn and Saturnian energy, and Saturn having started a whole new 29.5-year journey this year when Saturn entered Aries, right? And then we've talked about all these Cancerian energies. It was very Cancerian around the summer solstice, right? Let me circle. Funnily enough, here goes Mercury at the same time, retrograding into Cancer. At the same time, Jupiter says, all right, guys, so glad I could sit at the tables with you and help you become expansive in your emotional maturity, your healing journey of reparenting yourself, and how much abundance that can bring of wisdom into your life, which leads to keys and gateways opening where you can create new pockets of abundance. I'm going to hop into Leo now, right? You see that? Very interesting. It's kind of stoking joy, perhaps contemplating when Leo season comes, I'm going to be ready for certain things to be seen, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, right? So we have our backdrop of the sun being in Cancer. There's our axis of the moon being in Capricorn, the sun being in Cancer, Mercury going into retrograde in Cancer, right? There's a big sense of, I have been on this journey of reparenting myself, reclaiming my nervous system. And look, it's not the end all be all. You've got to have it all together now, because it's never like that. It's a spiraling journey. But we can understand now, okay, out of a stronger seated place of my emotional wisdom, my emotional well-being, my authority, because I've mastered myself, or I'm in the process of doing that, right? Okay, now what do I choose to commit to or revoke commitment from? You know, there's inner child themes that are important. That ties in with emotional needs, right? There's a lot of things that are coming in harmony now, I think. There's a lot of balance that's going to be needed. It's really this dance now of saying, what responsibilities am I committing to and why, right? And I will give a quick shout out, though, to the cardinal signs, right? Okay, you definitely may be feeling this more than others, but it doesn't have to be so. There's almost this interesting, this is what I'm getting from this chart too. There's almost like this stoic nature that Capricorn and earth signs can go into that says, I'm really, really tired of like committing to things that are killing my emotional health. You know, that can definitely be something that is coming up. I'm really not going to be building anymore if I keep having to suppress my needs. If I keep having to, you know, it's kind of like I'm tired of masking just to get through stuff, because what kind of long-term sustainable commitment is that to a job, to a business I'm creating, to a relationship I'm in, to a whole damn town I live in? I don't know, you know. Uranus is in Gemini. It's the age of Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius as a backdrop, right? So we have this energy that maybe, hey, we're moving and we're shaking. Now is the time for change, because we're going to move into these timelines unfolding. We want to make sure that whatever's long-term sustainable right now, we're really ready to pour into that. And please, can we please do demo work on stuff that is killing our nervous system, that is bottoming out our emotional health, right? You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be mature. Maturity sometimes comes with finally getting to a point of saying, as a means of parenting my own self, I'm going to go ahead and let you know I can't do this anymore. I'm actually not going to be returning to complete that job opportunity. I'm actually not going to be accepting those invitations anymore. That's also maturity, right? The full moon is also squaring Saturn and Neptune. Okay. Let me draw you a nice red line here. Okay. We see Saturn and Neptune both in Aries. Spiritual inspiration. Neptune in Aries is definitely an influence, but that stretches out way over a bigger span of time. Saturn in Aries, though, is saying, I know you want to be impulsive. It's great to be excited. We love to get out of the gate, but we've got to be mature about things, right? So do you see, if I had to pick one, I'd probably point out that this full moon in Capricorn is squaring Saturn in Aries, you see, and then Neptune in Aries is right there. But that Saturnian vibe, I'm leaning towards Saturn because Capricorn is very Saturnian energy as well, right? Don't forget that the age of Aquarius is co-ruled. Predominantly in modern times, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. But it's also, I have a lot of Aquarius, you know, I say that all the time. It's also co-ruled, and I still feel it in my everyday life, by Saturn. And the thing is that part of taking responsibility is knowing when to say, this is not mine. I will not be carrying this forward, because I know that the things that are mine and that I am called to birth and that I am called to grow and that I am called to care for, I have to be able to take a long-term sustainable commitment to those. And I've got to be emotionally, spiritually, you know, mentally. We have mental bodies, emotional bodies, psychic bodies, auric bodies. We have all this. It's so much more, as we understand the age of Aquarius, is so much more than just that physical. So when we are committing to something, we have to be able to hold boundaries and hold energy. That's like, you can't just pour into one vessel to water a whole garden. That vessel's going to get overrun. It's going to get worn down. That's too, you know, you need a good system in play there. Boundaries Reparenting is big. And I will say again, with such a Cancerian backdrop, Sun in Cancer until like July 21st, July 22nd, right? Still a good bit of time to work with this energy. Mercury retrograding in Cancer is this energy of you may feel like a heightened awareness of the things that you kind of sponge up and hold inside in your environment, in your job, in the people that you work with, and the people, maybe you've called them family for a long time. Or again, I like to highlight, it's not always about a romantic relationship. Emotional bonds, when we incarnate, we have these soul contracts and these fated meetings and whatever, however you like to title those. The emotional bonds that are in our life predominantly, we're going to say, how much is this bleeding onto me? You know, how am I doing with boundaries? How much, I don't know, how would we say, it's almost like this, I'm hearing that pressure like a dun 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 dun, never stop. Whoa, oh, oh, dun 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 dun, dun, your sister's stronger. Bum 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 bum. What is it? No mistakes. Wow, why am I casita? Why am I blanking on the Disney movie? Anyway, it's this feeling of pressure. But then it's almost like how you wake up and the fog kind of clears one day and you say, why was I putting a lot of like guilt on myself and being excessively like, I've got to show, where's the pressure coming from? And is it alignment with what you value? Is it in alignment? Right? So responsibility, boundaries. What am I pouring into with long-term sustainability? Am I sponging up other people's feelings or emotional projection? Things like this can happen when things are very Cancerian. So we're working on reparenting, right? It's definitely notable at any time of the full moon, especially when you have a big, strong influence of Capricorn. And we've come past the summer solstice now, mind you. We're evaluating, okay, where was I at? Maybe you track it back in a Gregorian calendar way and you think about maybe January. It's the first of the year. We're kind of past that 6-month mark. Or maybe you flow more like I do, like in a sabbatical year, and you kind of say, like, what was I doing at the spring equinox? What was I pouring into? And how's that going for me? It's okay to be at a time of such great flux and flow when many different doorways open, many different alternative reality choices, many different news cycles. You know, Saturn, we talked about rolling out this red carpet. So we kind of come to this place and we evaluate our responsibilities. We look at what we call family. We look at our close environments and we say, what's true for me, what's not, right? Am I listening to my emotional body? Have I found myself maybe in a place where I've overcommitted to a lot of things and things are changing really fast and I need to say, whoa, 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 you know, am I, it can be this energy of taking on a lot, but we have to keep reiterating to ourselves that we're not in an age where we are saving everyone all the time and burning ourselves down. That's not the age of Aquarius. I've said it a bunch of times. I'll say it again. The age of Aquarius is where you have to show up in your individuality, your authenticity, and you have to say, because that's your ribbon, that's your frequency, that's your, if you're not in alignment with that, you have to say, what am I doing? And I'm not saying every day, you know, that's egotistical and kind of out of touch with the reality. Every day is not going to be all about you, but I'm talking about being in alignment with your individuality, your authenticity, because that's the signature of energy that you're being called to show up and serve the world and, you know, root into your purpose or create something new. That's what these timelines are all about in the age of Aquarius. Right? So I definitely do find it super interesting. And I want to take a side note because a lot of our collective readings, we kept channeling and getting these messages that were coming through that were pointing to this full strawberry moon. And I can't really recount them all, but if you watch the videos or you catch the collective messages, you know this has come up before through different archetypal messages, even in personal readings, or the sequence of the 3 moons, and even in my own journal work, strawberry and the moon and stuff coming through. This is a really important place where the work that you've done on your emotional space, the work that you've done on your boundaries, the work that you've done on reparenting yourself, working on past emotional patterns, right? This is where in this year and this midpoint we want to say, how am I doing with those foundations? Remember, we keep hearing these messages also that come through as like things are an inside job. You've got to build and be really solid internally before you start pursuing things externally. And there's also a lot of unknown and newness right now. For example, you may have been building up in a way for like years and you thought this is going to be the epitome of what I do. And then you come to this place and energy like this right now where you say, whoa, actually, I don't think this is in alignment. I don't know. It almost gives like with Saturn and Neptune and Aries, but Mercury retrograding in Cancer, it's like this moment. I'm getting this energy of like a fog clearing and you kind of go, I don't think I'm going to be taking responsibility for this going forward. Or maybe I idealized that something was going to be like this or come across or come through like this as a manifestation, but it's actually not. You know, maybe you got a great collaborative opportunity, but then you actually are working with certain people or in an opportunity or in an atmosphere every day and you go, whoa, I'm not in alignment with these people. Does that mean, let's say you want to teach, does that mean you shouldn't teach? No, but it means you can be open to the unknown and say the path is changing. Right now, it's okay for you to be independent, for you to take responsibility of boundaries. And when some of this illusion kind of clears out and you're like, was idealized, or this path is shifting a little bit, that's okay. You know what I mean? Embrace that. I think that owning your no and having boundaries, we always talk about have your boundaries. What's that look like in real time? I'll tell you what, I know some Capricorn people and they sure have no problem saying, no, that's not what we're going to be doing. And then just moving on with it. You know what I mean? Me, for example, as a very air sign heavy person, I would overthink that. And I would say, what if they take it like this? Or when they said this, or how will they, but we're not doing all that. Excuse me. We're not doing all that. This is very much energy of like, let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. What is that old saying? And it's like, if your yes is just always yes to everybody, what is the value of it? Sometimes you can judge the value of somebody saying yes to something by how good their boundaries are with everything else, right? I don't know. I'm getting this image of it's like, I get a lot of GPS navigational type images from Spirit in Mercury retrograde season because we get a lot of redirects. We slow down and kind of clearing the fog. That's very Mercury retrograde as well. But this is going to be seated in how you feel, how you've reparented yourself now. We do want to have this pragmatic, like Capricornian energy. But sometimes this would be like evaluating that, for example, you realize the path you were going on had you walking down a way that your family or your community had always done it this way. And now you're realizing, as I've reparented myself, as I've grown internally, as I've done the work, whether, the shadow work, the healing work, the journey of ascending in your own consciousness, you say, I'm actually not called to do it that way at all. We do have like a sextile vibe going on here where this moon is kind of having this very harmonious energy with North Node in Pisces, and then a trine to the South Node in Virgo. So the nodes in a great way are being activated in this chart. I don't have a lot of, this is a more basic chart, so it's harder for me to draw that out for you. You'll have to take my word for it. I think only the North Node is on here. I don't even know if I have it printed where the North Node is on here. But the way that this full moon is working with these nodes is it's a very much like, it's almost working in such a way where it's like things that feel excessively heavy that are tied to like this responsibility and I thought I had to do because, and sometimes here's what Spirit is bringing through too. Sometimes we will do something simply because I would have been the first one to ever do it in my family. This would be, here's a good example, like I had a really big push to get this amazing degree because no one else in my family had ever did that. And I would make here's the mother and father paradigm. I would make my mom and dad super proud, but deep in your heart, for example, if you take a moment, even if your parents had the best of intentions, let's say it wasn't toxic, it was beautiful and they meant well, but it's not for you. Okay, you have to find that authenticity within yourself and say, I think Spirit is really giving me, I think the universe, my higher self, right? God, Goddess, Source, Divine, your angels, your team, what have you. The universe is really showing me like I have a green light to let some stuff go. That node of kind of my destiny, North Node in Pisces, is saying, wow, I actually kind of came to this place. What is this Spirit is showing me? I can't remember the whole story. It was the story you hear about like, oh, my parents don't know I'm not in college anymore and I'm living in a town and I'm chasing my music making dream. And at some point I got to tell my parents. Yeah, it's that type of energy, right? It's got to be about your individual authenticity. It's got to be rooted in your emotional and spiritual, your mental health. Because I guarantee you, if it's not, I hope for you that you wouldn't be signing up for some karmic lesson again where you get 10 years down the road and you'd be like, I hate this. This wasn't for me, but I thought that I was trying to live out this ancestral pattern of a dream that was never, you know what I'm saying? I could definitely see these vibes in this energy. There's a lot of alternative pathways opening up right now. We are definitely in the age. Yeah, I think that is that air filter. I hope it's not as loud as it sounds to me, you guys. We're definitely in this age of kind of waking up from this illusion and saying, we actually like don't have to do things in the way that they've always been done. And then we can release a lot of stuff. Sometimes a full moon in Capricorn will actually give you the ability to like release these heavy attachments to the responsibility of, you know, my father's father and their father was this and this and this and this, you know. But I don't actually have to do it that way. So I think there's definitely, either way you shake it, however you look at it, right? We have to say it's kind of this, again, here's the axis, right? Very in a worldly, third dimensional, concrete way. And we have to get there sometimes. We have to be down in it like that with our dreams because we're building new timelines. But we have to say, what is this ambition and how does it affect my emotional and mental health? How does it affect, you know, whatever way you look at it, this is going to be kind of like, it's definitely carrying mid-year check-in, reality check, you know. I set out to, let's say, be a teacher, and I thought that that's what it looked like. So the universe, because I am the universe, presenting things to myself as learning experiences. So maybe I opened up this year, whether you say January or the spring equinox, and I said, wow, the universe put these opportunities on the table for me, right? And I walked out my discipline and, you know, I built things. Maybe you could use a garden analogy. I planted seeds and now I'm saying, okay, you know what? That's actually not the way that I want to do it at all. But it's not a loss that I had the experience. It taught me. It taught me about how I didn't want to teach, or it taught me about how other people do things that I realized don't work anymore. Does that mean, and I'm giving you a metaphor, right? For you, it could be painting. For you, it could be music. For you, it could be service. For you, it could be, you will have to insert that into your own story, right? Use your discernment, but you're redefining things for yourself. And there's a lot of independent energy of saying, actually, I'm seeing a different way that's more in alignment with my destiny. And I think that I'm being called to teach maybe here. But I thought it was going to look like this. That's okay. That's fine. I learned. Maybe that's not for me, but it doesn't mean that all was for naught. You know what I mean? There's a lot of personal evolution going on. There's a lot of emotional maturity going on. And on the other side, let me just tell you, there's a lot of that's not going to be going on for people. People are going to be dealing with a lot of cognitive dissonance, and it is hard to accept that you've done something one way for a long time and it's not going to be available anymore. Evolution is not as easy, especially if you're not practicing self-awareness and You're not practicing evolving, right? So there's going to be a lot of emotional projection. Sometimes Mercury retrograde in Cancer, having to slow down and sit with all of this, is really hard for some people, and it gets nostalgic, and it gets emotional, and it gets frustrating. You know, for example, let's go back to that analogy where the kid who was going to go to law school to make his whole family happy has to go and break it to his family, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, right? Full moon in Capricorn, and say, hey, I don't want to do this at all. I never really did. I just thought I was making everyone else happy. I thought I was carrying that ancestral dream. And, you know, the moon isn't in Cancer, it's in Capricorn, right? But there is a lot of familial, there's a lot of past life, there's a lot of ancestral karmic type of repetition things that are closing up, where we do have to say, you know, that's actually not for me. You know, there's a lot of boundaries. Okay, so it could be an emotionally challenging one, but I'll tell you what, I do like that Jupiter is shifting into Leo. You know, because when you are able to practice the discipline and honor your boundaries, and then step into, it's almost like a launch pad, right? And then Jupiter says, oh, okay, there it is. Now let's expand. Let's expand that vision. I'm so glad that you went through those experiences that taught you what you didn't want to do, or how you didn't want to create, or what you didn't want to participate in anymore. Now let's go and kind of launch you onto that timeline. You weren't quite ready yet because you had to experience some, you know, a lot of energy that I've been picking up on lately too is like wrapping up a lot of what was a friend and I were saying the other day is we got to walk out the ends of this karma that's closing out. When Saturn goes through 29.5 years of cycles, a lot of stuff has to close out, and it takes a little bit of time. That's just like learning a new habit, creating a new routine. We're also walking out that last energy of the South Node being in Virgo. Okay, let me hit you one more time with this to see, is this how you really want your days to feel for another decade, for another 2-5 years? Let's go through this relationship dynamic one more time with your family. And do you really want to carry all that heavy emotional work or that responsibility? Is that really? Because Jupiter goes into Leo and says, all right, we're going to expand it. All right, it's time for you to step out and be seen. Okay, it's time for you to show up and show, you know, and is this what you want the spotlight to be put on? At the risk of sounding kind of cheesy, I mean, I have to say, and I know somebody say full moon and Capricorn kind of rolling your eyes, but you have to ask yourself, like, I'm not saying every single day it's irrational to think I'm going to be happy. No, even in soul-led, purpose-filled, you know, alignment type of paths that you're creating or working in or living out, you know, of course you're going to have times where you don't feel that way. But I'm saying ultimately, is what you're doing, is the relationship you're in, is the career that you're committing to, are the doorways. It's almost like Saturn has given us kind of these little glimpses of these different doorways of what we've been toying with manifesting and saying, okay, what if we give you a little sample of you doing it like this, or putting you in this community with these people? Are you in alignment with those values? You know, would you, if you were here, collaborating in this atmosphere for 5 more years, do you think this would be in alignment with you, right? This is what we do when we walk onto new pathways, right? I'm going to be honest with you too, and I'm going to tell you, a full moon in Capricorn when Mercury's going into retrograde, if you've got like some kind of big documents, oh, we're going into this big offer on a house, or I'm about to make a big commitment in a relationship, or this career. I mean, if there's a way that you can slow down a little bit and give yourself time, not taking on big offers, signing big things. Of course, I'm always going to give you that advice at Mercury in retrograde, right? Big, heavy conversations with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, full moon in Capricorn, people feeling the weight of karmic closure of cycles and deciding. I mean, this year, if you take a minute and reflect back at let's say summer solstice being a midpoint, and then here we are the next week, we have a full moon in Capricorn that said, let's get pragmatic for a minute. Let's think about the long-term sustainability. Let's think about the responsibility. And then Cancer season is going to say, let me just hold on, catch my breath for a minute. Because I really need to review some stuff. You know, at the same time that all this karmic cycle stuff is closing out, I've also got new doorways and kind of little, what you get, like you get a little preview of a subscription, you know what I mean? And you'll be like, do I want to pay for the whole year of that? Let me just take a minute, you know? We kind of need to find this like sweet spot, this balance between like, let me get my nervous system to a place where it needs to be. And let me decide, okay, am I really creating and getting into new opportunities, or am I kind of still hanging on to some goals that are maybe outdated? You know, I work with one-on-one with people all the time, every week, every month, full moons, new moons, you name it, right? Astrology charts. A lot of people are having these moments right now. And if you look back, this year has been it's been like the year that feels like we had 3 years and 6 months. So you got to kind of stop for a minute and go, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. You know, I had a person that I've done readings for years and years having this whole moment of like, I thought everything that I've done in my spiritual journey and all of this work that I've been doing for a decade was leading me to this. And then I got to this and I was like, okay, I think I'm actually done. And it's like, wow, well, you spent all this time in this cycle. I have, and it was a great experience. It served me very well, but I think it's actually time for me to walk onto a whole different path. And so I need to create new structures and boundaries for that. Right? You get what I'm saying? Because full moon in Capricorn will have you sitting down and really looking at the longevity of some things. You got to get real with yourself. You know what I mean? We're talking about people just like, I got 25 years in a marriage and I'm thinking, I've actually hated it for a long time. Or I keep building, you know, I got a degree, I got all these I got all this and this and that in this career. But actually, I think I'm done doing this. This is the energy that we're in, right? So yeah, we've got to be evaluating what is in alignment with our soul, you know what I mean? And with our emotional maturity and where we want to be in 5 years, where we want to be in 10 years. You got to be able to get real authentic with yourself. Because if you're not doing that, how can you really be independently, very Capricornian moon, right? How can you be independently taking responsibility if you're not even being real enough with yourself to feel or say out loud things that make you terribly unhappy? You know what I mean? Or perhaps it's really tough, right? Let's use the analogy again. Let's say you wanted to be a teacher and the universe opened these pathways to give you a chance to get a test subscription to that. But you got placed in an atmosphere and you're like, this is not how I want to do this at all. I do not like it. It's okay. You don't have to pay for the year. You see how that gets into like people pleasing and feeling guilt, and then you're making choices based on anxiety and people pleasing and guilt, which is ultimately rooted in fear. I'm afraid of disappointing people. I'm afraid that if I say this opportunity is not in alignment with me, what if I don't get another one? You see how those dynamics start to come in? And that parental axis, the shadow of that Cancer and Capricornian energy, will have you holding on to the illusion of control or comfort by like, I'm going to do what's right to parent the people around me. But really the goal is to be reparenting yourself. Do you see that? So if I were working with this full moon energy, I would really be focusing on, you know, how do I get my structure in the best alignment to make sure that I'm listening to my own destiny, that I'm honoring my own personal evolution, because that requires disappointing other people. And just because Spirit is bringing something through right now, it's like, just because other people may be experiencing extreme cognitive dissonance, getting hit with propaganda left and right, going through massive ascensions. You know, other people will find themselves like, I'm actually okay. I'm ready to take the quantum leap. Well, I've been on my spiritual soul working, evolution, you know, healing, self-awareness, however you want to call that. I've been on that journey for decades now, and I actually feel pretty good. It's time for me to go ahead and go. That's like, again, we give this analogy of, I have my PhD now. I need to go on to these other things. I can't keep trying to help pull other people up through there. You know, I see all the time with people with heavy Cancerian, heavy Capricornian placements. It's like, well, I sacrificed X, Y, and Z because my family needed it. This is what was best for my siblings. This is even parent to child to parent dynamics. But at some point you have to say, oh my gosh, it's the year of the fire horse. Jupiter is going into Leo. We're hitting this place of expansion. Well, how many times are we going to keep expanding on everyone else but not for you? That's not always selfishness, you know? So these are the things. And do you see how a dynamic of sitting down and being real with yourself, slowing down and making space, meditating, clearing your mind, evening out, getting in a place of peace with your nervous system, you got to be able to be real with yourself. It's kind of like a big, yeah, how do we say, spirit cosmic reality check. And there's also this big energy of like, it's okay. Spirit keeps bringing me back to this. You got a subscription to some things. And you might say, I thought that that's how I wanted to do it, but it's not. It's okay. Do not pay for the year. You know what I mean? You know, I was talking about, oops, I subscribed. No. Get the refund. Don't commit. You don't have to. You can have boundaries. Discipline, boundaries, and structure, which is what Capricornian energy is big about. You can make those in a way that protects your own authentic self too. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a toxicity and a reparenting point that's really important when you say, when it comes to discipline, boundaries, and structure, I find myself always linking that to self-sacrifice. That's not always healthy. We need to say, actually, how do I discipline and structure and allow my life to have boundaries in a way that's of service to my own goals and to what's authentic to me? That's a big point of reprogramming right now, right? Where do we want to go? You know what? I feel called to the Anatomy of a Witch Oracle. And so perhaps maybe you're finding yourself, you know, I like to always show you, this is what we're pulling from. This is a really good one, by the way. Perhaps you just need a moment to set intentions to say, I need to get clear on what I am releasing heavy responsibility to, so that I can then become aligned with my new destinies, you know? Or perhaps you feel maybe you've done that work, and I love that for you. So perhaps you might feel yourself saying, when I do my journal work, when I light my candles, when I hold my ritual space in this full moon energy tonight, tomorrow, the next day, maybe I'm asking Spirit and my ancestors and team to help me hold boundaries around the things that are important to me now, and to rewire my nervous system and my emotional body to not be so triggered by trying to do that. Saying no to things, or even realizing I said yes to something with the best intentions, and that's okay. I don't think that's the way I want to do that. So I'm actually going to say, I won't be resubscribing. Okay. And that's okay. It makes me think about this conversation that I had with a beautiful person that I love to pieces. And they were like, speaking about my tarot alchemy school, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to continue this right now. Hey, that's okay. And it makes me think about how this whole year of going through teaching a tarot school for the very first time, I feel like I'm always teaching in readings and in life. I'm just, part of me being a teacher is wherever I go in life, and I've accepted that. But I've learned a lot about how that experience it's been a big learning experience for me, you know. And when, for example, I started that, wow, okay, right off the top, 2 cards. Thank you so much, Spirit and Ancestors, for giving us clear guidance. I set the intention like it's going to be a learning experience. We're going to see how this flows. We're going to see what we like and we don't like. This year is going to be a lot of flux and change. And to be honest with you, Uranus being in Gemini for the next 7 to 8 years is going to be a lot like that anyway. I just keep getting this repetitive message from Spirit, like you don't have to resubscribe. You can actually activate your refund now. I don't know. It's like hey, you know what? We did some months. We got into it. It's not working. This is not what we want to hit. If Jupiter going into Leo was a big fire creative, let's be seen, let's expand it, let's rocket launch forward. Boom. Do you really want to hit the expand button on that? Maybe you want to tweak it some more. Maybe you take that as a lesson. I'll tell you one thing, though, I know is that a lot of people are noticing that they need a break from a lot of stuff that they've been doing a really long time. I will tell you that. Whether it's a couple of years, whether it's a decade, please honor the ways that you need to take a break from something. Because how are you going to have time to sit with a reality check to really evaluate? This is a huge turning point in the entire collective and in your microcosm too. Do you want to continue to resubscribe? Do you want to hit the expand button on this? What would you like to tweak? How would you like to hone this so that it's in better alignment? That's what a cosmic reality check is, you know. You also have to understand that as you go forward with something, is it long-term sustainable with all the change that's going to be going on in technology, in collective shifting and moving around a lot? It's the energy of change, right? You can also reflect too in just a really quiet space, and maybe there's grief there. Maybe there's emotional processing. That's going to come with release anyway. That's a full moon vibration, is to be thinking about release anyway. Because we got to release and clean out and make space to implement new changes and structure and commitment and stuff, right? You could be reflecting on the whole time that Jupiter was in Cancer, especially with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, right? And what that taught you about yourself, how you really feel, what you really don't want to repeat that maybe you learned or sponged from your family. There goes that reprogramming again. Am I really creating this life for myself? Am I on autopilot based on ancestral history and karma and projections and expectations? Is that really what I want to hit that big expansion button on, you know? Okay, so we had 2 cards just come straight flop right out of the deck. Let's read what they are together. We have perception and we have love. Perception is great. This makes me think of my tattoo. Perception is beautiful because a lot of perceptions are shifting right now. Perception partnered with love. For me, this energy, you know, this is giving me like a Caduceus or Archangel Raphael, mental healing, nervous system healing, loving yourself through all the changes that you're going through, transformative. I'm getting like shedding the skin. Okay, we have the hearts in both of these the whole time that we are learning how to love ourselves through all of this. Look at the similar energy. You see that? There could be a lot of, it makes me think of Kundalini rising, awakening from the inside out. It's funny, I was talking about different auric bodies, mental bodies, psychic bodies, emotional bodies. Look at all of this energy around the vessel, maybe we could say, is a physical body. How's your perception changing? Have you even slowed down right now long enough to consider it? I'm getting this energy too about like spirit pouring into you. I always say when Mercury goes into retrograde, it's like a container where we kind of do a check-in on our etheric, emotional, physical, psychic bodies. We kind of evaluate, okay, whoa, we usually get 2 of those a year, maybe sometimes 3. Where we kind of say, hold on a minute, let me get some new uploads. I'm getting downloads to my GPS. Some of the past may be changing. My ancestral team may be running defensive, what am I thinking? They may be running interception plays. There may be things ahead that if I continue to subscribe, I don't see, but Spirit sees. So let me slow down and pay attention and listen to my intuition. I hope that as we still work through Cancer season 2, I don't know, we've just got to be able to fight for time to slow our nervous systems down, allowing spirit to pour into us. This gives me like an open crown chakra, you know, receiving, cleansing into your emotional and spiritual bodies. Okay, let's read what perception. Actually, let's read love first. That card is really speaking to me. Okay, love. Hello. It's in the group called Body Being. You see that? All the cards in this book are divided into different groups. So it says Body Being. 2 serpents sensually intertwine with a figure that reveals a witch heart floating between its cupped hands. Flames start at the ground. Oh, I didn't even see the flames. Oh, yeah. Dang. Flames start at the ground and work their way up the center of the body, bolstering the cauldron situated at the figure's head. What, didn't I say something about trying to pour into one vessel to water everyone else? And that shadow Capricorn, shadow Cancerian, like parenting everyone else but yourself type of energy. How do you even focus on the cauldron that's located at the head, the crown chakra, maybe you could say, or at your wellspring, if you're focused on everyone else's? I'm hearing something. I'm hearing this message kind of like this is getting really old. Pouring into this is getting really old. Pouring into this is getting really old. I don't know. That is coming through so loudly. How can we set this up? Can we do it like this, Spirit? Yeah, there we go. So we can see that beautiful image. Love is a force, part of magic itself. It is a sense. Okay, so the love card is out. So definitely could be in relation. This could be connecting to a relationship for some, right? You're pouring too much into it, or it's draining you, or some sort of relationship. Maybe you're called to pour more into your familial relationships. It could be. It's a sense of wholeness without demanding perfection. Love yourself, love your practice. Why? You are in relationship with yourself. You're also in relationship with your body, your magic, the world around you, the spirits, the ancestors, the deities, etc. Your practice is an entity unto itself. When have you even had a chance to reconnect with your practice? You know, your practice, whether it's a ritual or meditation or communing with nature, we all have lots of different practices, right? But your practice is a very tangible thing too, you know? It's something that you build, right? You are also in relationship with your body, your magic, the world around you, the spirits, ancestors, deities, etc. Your practice is an entity unto itself. It has a spirit or consciousness of its own. Your partner in discovering the universe. Your practice loves you. It loves the idea of you. I'm getting this energy coming through too, is like we have to make time to return to whatever that practice is for you. Is it the divination practice? Is it the spiritual study? Is it the meditation? Is it the walks in nature? Is it the candle work that you keep meaning to get back to? Is it the writing the mantras in the journal? Whatever it is, right? Again, there's so many different paths, many different rivers flow to the same ocean, you see. But right now, when we're having a cosmic reality check, when we're really saying, let's look at the subscriptions that have come across the table. Let's see what we are committing to. Let's see what we need to release. Your practice is so important in that because it helps you reconnect to that north node of yourself, of your destiny, of the knowing of yourself, right? The practice slows down the nervous system. It lets you get back to that parasympathetic place where you're not in fight or flight, overcommitting, people pleasing, saying yes to everything. Gemini season, you know, had us all around mingling. Maybe we picked up subscriptions in that season. I know I did. And you're coming back and you're saying, I kind of sat with some of these things. Maybe Gemini flowing into Cancer season brought you to a lot of conclusions about how things that you committed to made you feel in your emotional body. Your practice is an entity unto itself. It has a spirit or consciousness of its own, your partner in discovering the universe. Your practice loves you. It loves the idea of you, not only you right now, but past and future you as well. Embrace the sensual reality of being an embodied spirit, and then turn your eyes to the world and fall in love. But if you're committed to a career, if you're committed to a relationship, if you're committed to something and it's not, I don't want to say overall, right? Again, let me stress, not every day, even in the most beautiful of things, we have days where we ain't in love with everything that day. You know what I'm saying? But overall, do the things that are in your life that you're long-term committed to make you fall in love with your life? I mean, overall, right? The relationships, your career, your lifestyle, the structure of your day, what you eat, how you feel. Do you have a practice? The keywords of this card say passion, devotion, desire, and embodied. This is giving very much like wrapping up the work of the South Node in Virgo and your daily routines and your health and your purging and your releasing. And then boom, you hit that launch button to expand, right? Practical and radical self-love and acceptance. Treat yourself as a lover would and embrace your beautiful possibilities. As a self-love meditation, touch or anoint your belly or sacral, your chest, your solar plexus, and your forehead, right? Your third eye. And say, I open my body to love. I open my heart to love. And I open my mind to love. That's really beautiful. That's very healing. Maybe you feel called to work with the healing energy of Archangel Raphael if you resonate with that. Maybe you're being called to shed a lot and it's really like, hey, we really need to slough off the rest of this dead skin so that we can go forward. Okay, let's flip to perception and see what this card has to say in the book. Perception says the senses. Wow, so we have body, being, and senses. Do you see how you've got to be in alignment with being in the present moment, which requires slowing down for a little bit so you can take this cosmic reality check? Almost like the view of a single cell through the lens of a microscope, an androgynous form undulates. At the center of its ethereal layers, a witch heart resides like a nucleus. So we have a lot of heart chakra energy as well. You know how I feel. That's the gateway. That's the portal. All of the portals that used to be out in the earth are in your heart chakra now. They're walking around everywhere. Okay, are you taking care of yours? Is the life you have up, is it long-term sustainable to take care of that? Would you really kill the nucleus of everything just to achieve what? What would you achieve from that? I don't know. That's a message that's coming through. When people talk about a sixth sense or ESP, extrasensory perception, many consider it to be something that exists outside our normal capacity for touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. But true perception involves all the senses layered and working together to feel and experience the whole of our body and being. That gives me how we were talking about Uranus moving into Gemini and breath work as a big healing modality for your nervous system reprogramming. Breath work requires you to return back to the now, to the present moment. And that's your senses. That's your body being. Our bodies have evolved to be a series of diverse systems networked together for the best possible results. We can perceive simultaneously from both our outermost and innermost layers. Every single one of us has the capacity for psychic perception, and that may look different for everyone. But I'm hearing Spirit saying it depends on what you're looking at. Depends on what you're looking at. Do you have propaganda in front of your face a lot? Is there mindless scrolling a lot? I'm not saying all technology is not bad. Apps and things. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, but I'm saying sometimes you have to come back to your body being. We have to pay attention and look different places and be in a seat of awareness to get these downloads, to get these different perceptions, right? It's important to be careful about what we let permeate our borders and how we respond to what we perceive. Embodied attunement, extrasensory. Everything is connected. This card is a reminder to Perceive with the whole of yourself and yet also take precautions to maintain your integrity and sovereign self. Steps you take to protect your let me reread that. Steps you take to protect yourself physically can also safeguard your spirituality or emotionality, and vice versa. So you could be feeling a need as you're doing this release work, as you're doing these reality checks, as maybe you're canceling some subscriptions to maybe amp up a little bit of you. It's very homey energy. Capricorn is very homey, building for the home, sustaining for the home, working hard for the home, the family nucleus unit or the physical home. Cancerian is the same. It's just the divine feminine aspect of that. So maybe home protection, home cleansing, home clearing, beefing up your wards, doing your protective work could be, you could feel a need to lean into that a little bit more as you are beefing up your boundaries, right? So this is the message that I have for you guys for this collective full moon in Capricorn. I hope you take extra good care of yourselves and stay grounded out there until we talk again soon. Okay. I love you. Take care. Bye.